So today we will start with an overview of chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. At the end of the fourth chapter, the last verse of the fourth chapter, Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, yes, that therefore the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharat, stand and fight. So Lord Krishna has a whole chapter spoken about knowledge. And then he says to Arjuna, now fight. So Arjuna is bewildered. He thinks, I have to develop this knowledge, Krishna says, and become renounced. And then he says, fight. So by simultaneously stressing renunciation and action, fighting, Arjuna is confused. So the point here is that Krishna consciousness or acting with this transcendental knowledge, that means that one acts in a renounced way. But there is action, but it is renounced because we are not attached to the fruits of activities. But Arjuna still is doubts. Should I go to the forest and renounce? Or should I fight? So he's asking, what's better, Krishna? Does this question in the beginning of the 5th chapter, a question which is very similar to the question he asked in the beginning of the 3rd chapter. So, next slide, the 2nd slide. So, this section of the first 6 verses that starts with Arjuna asking the question, what is better, renunciation or work in devotion? And Lord Krishna will reply, devotional service is better than renunciation. Always be renounced in your actions. Yeah, because he says, why is devotional service better than renunciation? It's more easy. And the aim of devotional service or Sankhya, the study of the difference between matter and spirit, the study of finding the root of my existence. That aim is the same. It's finding the root. So Vishnu is the root of the creation, or Krishna. And it's more easy because attachment to Krishna is more easy than the attachment from matter. And if one is attached to Krishna, one becomes automatically detached from matter. So renunciation alone is very difficult. That's a bit the summary of these verses we are now going through. Now you go 2 slides further to verse 1. So this is Arjuna's question. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arjuna Vacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Puna Yoga Sasam Sasiya Shriya Ekam Tane Bhurisha Nishitam. Arjuna said, First of all, you ask me to renounce work, and then you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is beneficial, most beneficial, more beneficial? That's so. Vishwanath he expresses Arjuna's doubt in a different way, in a way that makes it more easy for us to understand. It is not possible to perform both renunciation of action and karma yoga at once. There's a contradiction. It's the same as being stationary and moving at the same time. That's Arjuna thinks renunciation means doing nothing, give everything up. And karma yoga means action or devotional service. So how can I do both at the same time? But Krishna will explain both can be done at the same time. It's action in a renounced way, because you are just renounced, you are renounced in your action when you understand that everything belongs to Krishna, not to us. So you don't have anything to renounce, and you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. So you see that picture here on the upper side, you see Arjuna with a club fighting that action, and both you have the renunciants, that's Srila Prabhupada taking sannyas. So for Arjuna, this is incompatible. Krishna will answer now that, and he says, text 2. Sri Bhagavan Vatsya Sanyasa Karma Yoga Shanishrasav Kavupai Taista Karma Sanyasi Karma Yoga Vishishyate. Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, devotional service is better than renunciation of work. It's a bit technical, but it's a very simple principle here. It says, Karma Yoga first is more easy. We have first two slides. First two slide. Karma Yoga is better because it's easier to perform. It's more easy to be active with the senses. Because it is safer, and because it contains jnana within it. What does it mean? If you act without being attached to the results for the pleasure of Krishna, then gradually your lust and your greed will be removed from the heart, and you get spiritual knowledge. You start to understand who you are, what your position is as a spirit soul. By that, this is much more easier, and you develop knowledge also. Whereas the jnana yogi who wants to renounce, he has to study the difference between matter and spirit, and still his mind wants to do something else, because it's not engaged in devotional service, it wants some activity. So renunciation becomes very difficult. And it's more easy to make progress in this discipline, because the senses want engagement. If the senses are engaged in Krishna's service, then so next slide. This is the verse of Nectar of Devotion. that from Rupa Goswami, Anasaktasya Vishyan Yatartan Upayum Yata Nirmana Krishna Samadhi Yukta Vrahyam Uchyate. So this verse says, when one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts that it is Krishna's energy, it is related to Krishna, that it's Krishna's property and therefore for his enjoyment. Then one is situated above possessiveness, above the idea that it belongs to me. Because one explicitly accepts it is Krishna's, it's not mine. So that's really an enunciation. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of his relationship with Krishna is not complete in his renunciation. Because he rejects this, but it does not belong, does not know to whom it belongs. It belongs to Krishna. It's like you have someone loses his wallet on the street, and the first, you can have three reactions. The first person comes and he thinks, oh, it's my lucky day. He takes it and puts it in his pocket and is going to enjoy the money in the wallet. That's the karma kandi, or the enjoyer in this world. That the second example is the second option or possibility. One comes and sees the wallet and says, it's not mine, leave it there. That's the jnani, you leave it there. It's not mine. He doesn't know to whom it belongs. And the third person is, he comes, he sees the wallet, goes inside, finds the driver license, or it's from this person, and gives it back to one who belongs. So that's a devotee. He knows, oh, this belongs to Krishna, I offer it back to Krishna. And that's real renunciation, Rupa Goswami said. I hope this example makes it clear. So renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord, belongs to Him. And that one should not claim proprietorship over anything. Since everything belongs to Krishna, everything should be used in His service. That's Rupa Goswami, Nectar of Devotion. But that's the same principle which is explained here. Yeah, text, next slide, verse 3. And then Krishna explains what real renunciation means. Yes, nitya sannyasi no yona dveshti na kankshati nirtmantra imabo sukham bandhat pramuchate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is to be always renounced. Such a person, free from easily overcomes material. Such a person, free from dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. Yeah. So, if something belongs to someone else, why should I desire to enjoy it? Or why should I feel bad that I can't enjoy it? So what Krishna says here, one should not hate or desire the fruits of his activities. We have results of his activities, but we do it for the pleasure of Krishna. Whatever the result is, it's for him. Whether we consider it good or bad, it doesn't matter. So, therefore, There is no duality in his mind of good or bad. Whatever he does for Krishna. So that's liberation, factually. Because we take new bodies because of our desire for results, for the fruits of our activities, or our aversion. So that's renunciation, hating nor desiring the fruits of activities. And now in the next two verses, Krishna will explain why the results of renunciation or devotional service are the same. The results are the same. They both lead to renunciation. One is action and the other is being inactive. Renounce everything. But both lead to the same result. How is that? Text 4. Sankhya pitarpala pradavantina pangita ekamapyasita samyar obyorfinativlam. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he applies himself well to one of these paths, achieves the results of both. So Sankhya philosophy is the philosophy that looks or that searches to the root of everything. The root must be spiritual, finally. That's their conclusion. Find the root of everything. So you have verse 4 on the book? Yeah. So you see two pictures there. You see a plant on top, and one is watering the root, the plant, the root. And then you see downstairs, down, you see a plant and you see the root, finding the root. So one who does Sankhya Yoga or trying to understand by analytical study what's the root of everything, he tries to find the root. But the devotee knows what is the root. The root is Krishna. And we are watering the root. That's the difference. So Srila Prabhupada writes, the aim of analytical study of the material world is to find, I correct that, is to find the soul of existence. The soul of the material world is Vishnu, or the super soul, which is an expansion of Krishna. Devotional service entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the root, and the other is to water the root. So we worship Krishna, we water the root. The other is to find the root. But what is the aim of both? Is Vishnu, is Krishna. And verse 5 is also very important for us to understand. Yat Sankhya papadestadam tat yoger apigamyate ekasamsa yoga sayapasasya pasyati. One who knows that the position reached by analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same, sees things as they are. So you see here, of the picture, right, Srila Prabhupada as a renunciant, and left you have all these devotees in Vrindavan who are attached to Krishna. So the Sankhya yogi, he renounces everything, gives everything up. He becomes detached from everything, but is not eternal, but is not spirit. He becomes detached. He has understood it's all temporary. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, dukkha layam asasvatam, that it's this world is full of suffering, and asasvatam, it's temporary. It's there sometimes, the material world manifests, sometimes unmanifest. So he wants the eternal, the real thing. And this route is spiritual. And that's Vishnu or Krishna. So he becomes detached from everything. But the devotee becomes attached to Krishna. What happens when you become attached to Krishna? Always think of Krishna, and you become purified inside from all this sense of proprietorship, thinking I'm mine. It's all going away. So it means just by becoming attached to Krishna, one becomes detached from everything else in this world. So attachment to Krishna means detachment from matter. They are the same. And the Sankhya yogi, it tries to attain this detachment from Krishna just by studying the difference between matter and spirit, and then renounce everything, give everything up. Stop your eating, stop everything as much as possible. Give it all up. It's very difficult. It's very difficult, but in Krishna consciousness, renunciation is more easy. Yeah. We eat prasad, we chant, we dance, and we become purified and renounced from this world. So therefore, both are the same, Krishna says. Attachment to Krishna and attachment for matter, same thing. That if we see the gopis here, they were so attached to Krishna. They renounced their family, their name, their chastity. They gave everything up for Krishna. Renounced everything completely. And that's the process to make spiritual advancement. But if you try this in an other way, which is artificial for the spirit soul, just renouncing, because the spirit soul wants to be active, it's artificial. It's difficult to give up. You stop eating sweets, and the mind wants sweets, but you have to tell the mind, no, I'm sorry. It's difficult. It's very difficult. And that's what Krishna explains in verse 6. Next slide. Sannyasa tumabo dukkam aptum ayogata. Yoga yukta manirbhama nashrena adgacchati. So sannyas, Krishna says, tu mahabaho, you powerful armed Arjun, Mahabahu, dukkam aptum ayogata. So it becomes when the practice of Sankhya Yoga is, because it's ayogata, it's not connected with Krishna. Yoga means connection. Ayoga means no connection with Krishna. It becomes dukkam. Dukkam means distressful, very difficult. But yoga yukta, the devotee who is connected with Krishna, nashrena adgacchati, he achieves the supreme without delay, the verse says. So merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy, but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So that's, well, here it's in the purport Srila Prabhupada writes, the students of the Bhagavad school are those who are following Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma means devotional service. So the school of devotional service is called Bhagavad Dharma. The students of the Bhagavad school are engaged in devotional service of the Lord, according to the Pancharatrika regulations. Pancharatrika, we have explained that a few days ago, that is the process of devotional service, especially deity worship. That Archanam, Vandnam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani, Vednam, praying to the deity, worshipping the deity with 16 items, and so on. So you see Srila Prabhupada here worshipping the deity. So we are very busy with offering everything to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Vaishnava sannyasis, they are very busy. You have to preach, to do so many things, traveling from one place to another, very, very much engaged. All the senses are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis, they renounce everything. They study Sankhya and Vedanta from their books. And they cannot relish the pleasure of serving Krishna. They have to renounce everything, dry renunciation, and no engagement. Very difficult. Now we have the next section, next slide. First, Krishna will explain the devotee who follows the pros of devotional service, karma yoga here, that he becomes dear to everyone. And then Krishna starts to explain what's the vision of a devotee in this divine consciousness. How does he perceive the world? He lives in the world, but is not part of it. That's interesting. Living in the world, but not being part of it. It's like a lotus leaf, untouched by water. You have a lotus leaf, and a drop of water falls of it, and the water rolls from the leaf. It doesn't impregnate. It doesn't impregnate. It's untouched by the water. So one becomes untouched by the so-called happiness and distress of this world. One feels always transcendental pleasure by serving the Supreme Lord. And a devotee, and with this divine vision, he wants to be purified from all this attachment and aversion in this world. He doesn't want that. He acts only for purification. And by that, he attains an unadulterated, means very deep peace inside. So these are the symptoms, the activities, and the attainment of a karma yogi who acts in Krishna consciousness. Verse 7, so two slides further. Verse 7. Yoga yukta vishutatma vichitatma chitandriya sarvbhutatma bhutatma kovanapi nalipyate. One who walks in devotion with a pure soul, who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Although they are always working, such a man is never entangled. So a devotee who becomes advanced by devotional service, he becomes pure in his heart, and he acts only for the benefit of others, not to exploit someone, not to get something out of someone. He has no motive to do that. Relations in this world are always motivated. In marriage, husband and wife in this world, they are just exploiting each other. They want to be compatible in their likes and dislikes so that they can facilitate each other's enjoyment as they desire in this world. But that's give and take. Mostly these relationships, you give to me and I take from you. And that's it. And these are very troublesome relationships because that never works out. But the devotee does not have that. He has nothing to desire. He has no expectations of the other. He just engages in devotional service and he wants to serve, to give, to give, to give. If you meet such a person, it's a very pleasant relationship. No expectation, only love, giving. And therefore, it is said here that such a person controls his senses. Because it's uncontrolled senses that makes you exploit others. Because the senses are always engaged in Krishna's service. And by that you become the well-wisher of all. And such a person is not touched by so-called happiness and distress in this world, because we experience this happiness and distress because we want happiness in this world for the body and the mind. And that's a problem. Then you become entangled. But such relationships are very sweet. You never see someone as enemy, or you never criticize someone. There's no reason to do that. Like that, we see here the picture of Sanatan Goswami and his deity Madan Mohan. And Sanatan Goswami, he was very renowned because he was a devotee, and by his sweet character, he was a friend of everyone. And when there was a conflict in Vrindavan, they would come to Sanatan, please help us to resolve that. And he would help that. And he was trusted by everyone. And so that's a devotee. That this Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, because he is in pure consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. So, impure consciousness means we are controlled by enemies in our mind. Lust, anger, greed, envy, that controls. Most people are controlled by these enemies in their mind because their consciousness is impure. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are also controlled. He does not act for sense gratification. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna. There is no chance of his senses deviated from Krishna. Nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. That's the only thing he wants. That's a high level of realization. But now, next slide, the verses 8 and 9, the vision of such a person. There you see that this young child here, is expressing its wonder. Like if you read this verse, that's probably you will be surprised what Krishna is saying here. That we are not doing anything at all in this world. Because the soul is spiritual. It cannot do anything in this world. It can only desire. Because that's the function of the soul. Because it's spiritual, it cannot do anything. Everything is done, Krishna says. He said before in the 3rd chapter, Prakate Kriyamani Guna Karmana Sarvasa Hankara Vimutatma Kartam Iti Manyate. Everything is done in this world by the 3 modes of material nature. By material nature it's done. And one who thinks himself the doer, Krishna said before, is a Vimudatma, is a super S. So that means that this is the vision of reality. Divine vision, the spiritual vision, the vision of reality. We are not doing anything. Everything is done by material nature. And who controls material nature? Maya Dakshana Prakriti. Krishna says, I'm the superintendent of material nature, of the super soul. He does everything. Can you imagine whatever you desire, you desire to move your hand and it moves. But whether it will move, it depends on the sanction of the super soul. That I want to smile, I can smile. That I know ch5part1 Maharaj after his stroke, when he was better, a few months later, I came in public. My Guru Maharaj was there. ch5part1 Maharaj was saying to my Guru Maharaj, to Bhakti Guru Maharaj, I'm smiling. You could not see that he was smiling because he did not, because there was no possibility. The body was not working anymore. He could not show smiling. It was not possible. But they say I'm smiling inside, I'm smiling, but outside you cannot. So it depends on the super soul, whether you may desire, whether it will be fulfilled or not. That so. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, I will first read the purport, the verse before discussing this, because this is important to understand. Naiva kinchit karomite yukte manyeta tatvavit pasanskans pisanshikan asnangasans papam svasam palapam vrichyam rinam unmisam nimisam api indiacht suvartateti daryan. A person in the divine consciousness. So, what does he see? Although he's engaging in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always know within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So that's important information. That means the self-realized person sees himself as the observer in this world, not as the doer. It does things by desiring. I desire, and then let's see what the super soul does. Fulfilling my desire or not. So a devotee every moment is conscious of that. This is the super soul doing the things, not me. That Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, the Lord teaches the method by which one is not contaminated by actions. And that's an important point. not contaminated by actions. What does that mean? It's a deep meaning. That if you think I'm doing the action, you are contaminated with false ego. If you are the observer and you become the observer how Krishna does things, you always think of Krishna because he's doing things. Then you are really the observer. You see how Krishna does things in this world. Hmm? Although the karma yogi, the yukta, is engaged in seeing and other actions by verifying with his intelligence that the senses alone are engaged in the sense objects, he thinks I'm doing nothing at all. So there is a cooperation. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, we have these 5 subject matters. Ishvara, Krishna is a controller. As a super soul, Krishna is a controller. And what does he control? Prakriti, nature. And we are the jiva, different from that. Yeah, and our karma is done, our work with body, mind and senses is done by the super soul. But we desire. And by that, if we don't see that Krishna is doing things, we think ourselves the doer, and we become entangled. That's deep philosophy, and that's an essential point. That yeah. Text. If one is in this divine consciousness, then verse 10, one is like the lotus leaf untouched by water. Text 10. Pramanyadaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotya lipyadena sapapena patma patram vambasa. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results to the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So, Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport, we got this body. This body is a gift from Krishna to carry out certain actions according to our nature. And that can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. We should desire to fulfill the desire of the super soul, not our desires. The desires of the super soul are the same as the desires of Krishna expresses here. He instructs us what to do. And we can use the body for that. And then it will not become a burden. Because we don't get reactions by our activities. We remain uncontaminated. That we are not acting materially. If you act materially, you get reactions. So one is beyond the contamination by sinful reactions, like a lotus leaf. Though remaining in the water is not wet. So one becomes not affected. That's one of the points Arjuna in the beginning, in the first chapters of the Gita said, he expressed the question, I'm afraid from sinful reactions. If I kill my relatives, I get sinful reactions. He says, yeah, because but Krishna says, Artha Shastra says that killing aggressors, that's required. That must be done. It's in the Shastra. And Arjuna argues with Krishna, saying, but Dharma Shastra is higher. And Dharma Shastra says that you cannot kill relatives. That's very simple. And then Krishna says, because Krishna will later say in the second chapter, you think yourself a learned man, that he thought himself a learned man, but what is higher than Dharma Shastra? Paro Dharma, devotional service, is following the instructions of Krishna. That if one follows the instructions of Krishna, no reactions. And this is the instructions that he gives here. Don't think yourself the doer in this world, because we are only desiring. Everything is done by the super soul. If one becomes the observer and becomes conscious of that, then there are no reactions. So you use this body to follow Krishna's instructions. That and then no sinful reactions, like a lotus feet. Lotus leaf becomes never wet. Next slide. Yeah. So this is in the purport of this verse number 10, that there Krishna says that it speaks about pradhan. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called pradhan. The material world is a manifestation of Brahman. Everything is related to the Supreme Brahman, or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him. That just shows that everything comes from Krishna. The creation is twice explained in the Bhagavatam. In the beginning, there is only Brahman. And Krishna, with his glance, puts into Brahman the three modes of nature unmanifested. And he adds time, it injects the living entities which were dormant since the previous creation, and by their material desires, under the influence of time, the whole thing starts to move. And that's pradhan. That's we can say pradhan is like the origin of the material manifestation. The scientists would say the cosmic soup, although they don't know what it means. And that turns later by the desires of the living entities. These three modes of material nature come in action and becomes prakriti, material nature. So the material world is a manifestation of Brahman. Everything related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him. So a person in Krishna consciousness therefore knows everything comes from Krishna in this material world. My body is the property of Krishna, and therefore it should be engaged in Krishna's service. If one is always conscious of that, then no sinful reactions. When Sanatana Goswami was in Jagannath Puri, and he arrived there after a long travel to the jungle of Jharkhand, and he got a skin disease, and he had some pus all over his body. It was contaminated. But when he arrived, he met Lord Chaitanya, and Sanatana Goswami said, I don't want that Lord Chaitanya embraces me, because he will be, with all these dirty things on my skin, he will become contaminated. But Lord Chaitanya came to Sanatan Goswami and he embraced him with force. And Sanatan Goswami was thinking the next day that, yes, I contaminated Lord Chaitanya, that it's intolerable, I don't want to live anymore. By the next Ratha Yatra festival, in a few days, I will commit suicide and put my body under the wheels of Lord Jagannath. But Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. He is a superstar in everyone's heart. He knew everything. So he went to Sanatan Goswami. He said, you think your body belongs to you? I've great plans for your body. You should use it. I want you to go to Vrindavan to excavate all the places where Krishna has his pastime and revive these places. That's today we go to Vrindavan and all these places are known. It's all Sanatan Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. So he said, you think your body belongs to you? You fool. No, it belongs to me. And I have plans with it. So that's the reality. That if our body is a property of Krishna, therefore we engage it in his service. So we have text 11. This is a verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. No, verse 11. Yeah, nearly there, 11. Yeah. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalarindiyarapi yogna karma kurufanti sangatchatvatma sudaye. This verse explains how the devotee with divine vision, who is pure, what he desires. That although he may already be pure, he still desires to act for purification. The yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind and intelligence, even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. So we want to be purified from all this contamination in our mind and senses. And that's confirmed next verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Iyayasya aredasya karmana manasagare nikalasya apavastusi jiva mukta sauchate. This describes a person acting in Krishna consciousness. What does he do? He acts with body, mind, intelligence, and words. And always in the service of Krishna. And that is acting as a liberated person. This is a liberated person in this material world. Although he may be engaged in material activities, he's liberated. We have to act our BMW, body, mind, and words, in the service of Krishna, always. And what do we attain by doing that? Verse 12 explains that Yukta karma phalang chaktva santam apnoti naistikim yukta karma karana phalasakta nibachyate. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace, very deep peace, because he offers the results of activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who does not have this divine vision, who is greedy for the fruits, who want to enjoy this world, then he becomes entangled, cultivating so many desires, the mind goes everywhere, no peace at all. That Srila Prabhupada says, a person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is solely a liberated person. He has no anxieties for the results of his activities. One who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have any peace. Next slide. Valam seminar-ch5part1 apnoti naistikim. That's the point. Yukta pharma. Yukta means engaged in worship of Krishna. Activities that with activities, yukta karma means activities for the enjoyment of Krishna. And when phalam, the fruit of one's activities, ch5part1, and give it up. I don't want it. It's for Krishna, not for me. What does he get? Shanti, peace. Apnoti is achieved. Naistikim means very deep. It remains. Steady peace. Nothing disturbs the devotee. That the steady devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the activities to me, Krishna. So that next week, Thursday, we will continue with this chapter and learn how a devotee lives happily in this body, how he's not disturbed by the waves of desire and hate, how he has changed his desires from enjoying this world to pleasing Krishna, and how then everything becomes clear as the sun during the daylight. One sees everything clear. One sees reality, what's happening in this world. So thank you. Any questions? Yeah. Okay.
You wanted to say something, he can say
Okay. Yeah, okay. Tomorrow, okay. Thank you. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.